on the podcast tonight. Absolutely thrilled to be talking with somebody who is podcasting for a living. Like, I find this so amazing and so cool. So I want to welcome to the show, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. How are you tonight, Sarah?
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun, and I'm super excited for the conversation today. I'm doing well. It's been a long day, but I'm doing good.
Oh, no. Well, it's felt like a little bit of a long week. I know
Uh-huh.
here in Western New York, it's cold, so that's part of it. And
Mhm.
you said you might get snow in Florida.
Apparently, I don't know. They keep saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't.
Got you.
It is a little bit cold here, though. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, welcome. And I would love for you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself as we get started on the podcast tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sarah Barnes Humphrey, I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, and also the founder and host of the Blended podcast as well. And then the founder of our nonprofit, which is the Blended Pledge. But we're going to talk about all of that later. Yeah, I've been in supply chain and logistics for 25 years. I've been doing advocacy work for women in the industry. And things like that for a number of years as well since I started the podcast. And yeah, what else do you want to know? And I just realized that
Yeah.
we've gone live on my personal LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and it has taken on the show that I have on Tuesday. So my team's not going to be happy about that, but
Oh, no.
whatever, it is what it is. We'll just have to fix it later.
Oh, we'll get it fixed. It happens for sure. Well, I'm so appreciative that you're on tonight. I can't wait for you to share your story. As we like to do here at Powered by Authenticity, we love to do a little bit of an icebreaker. We think that food and drinks are one of the great connectors that we have with each other.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to share, are you a salty or sweet gal when it comes to snacking?
So I'm both.
All right.
Yeah, I can't have dairy, and so I like a good dark chocolate. So I don't know if that's like sweet or salty. It's kind of a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm on this popcorn kick that like has coconut oil on it instead of the regular like butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm kind of a little bit of both. I don't even know how to answer that one.
That's fair. I have to tell you, one of my favorite snacks is actually taking that big bowl of popcorn and throwing some chocolates inside of it and then just eating vegetables.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is a great idea. I should do that. I
Yeah.
actually have tried black pepper on my popcorn before too.
Is it good?
It's actually very good. Yeah,
Really?
but like that one has to be butter popcorn. I don't know about the coconut oil. I don't know. Haven't tried it yet.
Gotcha. Well, producer Ken is here with us tonight as well. Ken, how's it going?
Going good.
All right. Salty, sweet, where are you going?
Oh, salty. I'm a sucker for pretzels. That's a real weak spot.
Yep, those are good as well. Oh gosh, and I love the peanut butter stuffed pretzels. They're fantastic.
Yes, I'm actually on I think it's sunflower butter cups from
Oh,
Trader Joe's too. Those are very good.
oh,
Mhm.
well, delicious. Well, thank you. Now I'm hungry.
I know, I'm gonna have to go have I actually found this ice cream made with avocados,
Oh,
and it's actually pretty good. It's like this dark chocolate, and yeah, it's pretty good. Because like, as you've noticed, I can't eat hardly anything. I'm like gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, like all the things.
yep.
So I look for all of those kind of things. And I found one, avocado ice cream made with avocados.
That is great. I'm gonna have to look for that.
It's actually pretty good.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for doing that. We like to get to know everybody on just a little bit of a personal level. And like we said, we love food here at the podcast is the way it brings people together as a connector. So I would love for you to share your story about how you came about your podcast, the advocacy work, and just your backdrop story.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I've been in logistics and supply chain for about 25 years. I spent majority of my career in our family business, which was a logistics company. So, really a travel agent for cargo. That's how I kind of like to put it into context.
Yeah.
Started off right outside of high school. I was receptionist for a few years. Then I was in operations. I was in sales. And I was director of sales and marketing, and we needed to tell our brand story. So I decided to start a podcast. This was back in 2016. And I was listening to Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast. And I was like, well, if Lewis Howes can have a podcast, why can't Sarah Barnes-Humphrey?
Yeah.
And so I asked one of my male colleagues to be a co-host on it. And my team was like, what if we call it Two Babes Talk Supply Chain? And I was like, okay, let's see how far we can push the industry and see what happens. And so we started the podcast. We got 1,000 downloads overnight one night. So I knew I was on to something. And then 10 days before my 37th birthday, we had to close the doors.
Oh,
And I was out on my butt with nowhere to go. I had never really been on an interview before. And I lost my team, I lost my co-host. And so I had to learn graphic design, social media, website design, you name it. I had to learn all of that because I lost the team.
yeah.
And I had companies paying to come on the show. Very little, but they were paying to come on the show. And so I had obligations that I needed to fulfill. And so that's what happened. In January 2018, I started the Woman in Supply Chain series on the podcast. So the podcast wasn't all about that. It was one episode a month that I was going to feature women from the industry. And then by April 2018, no women would come on a show called Two Babes Talk Supply Chain. So craziest week of my life, but I rebranded it to Let's Talk Supply Chain. And the rest is really history. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of trying to figure out myself
Yeah.
and, how I want to show up. It's trying to figure out, how do we break some of these glass ceilings of what we think is possible and really going beyond that. So that's really what the journey's been about. And today we've got a team of about 18 people, and we're more of a media brand than, content creation or just podcasts. And actually, in 2020, I decided that my advocacy work was more than just gender. I have a blended family, and I was like, we need to talk about more than just gender. And it took me about 6 months to try to figure out what I was going to do. But I decided that I wanted like a red table talk for podcasts. And so for the Blended podcast, that was born October 2020. And we bring 5 different people together from different walks of life to talk about inclusion in the workplace.
I love that. And that hits home for me. I've got the tech background. So, women are often not included at the table. So I love the fact that you set that time aside to specifically focus on what others are seeing, what others are doing, how people are feeling, how they've overcome. So I love the concept of that podcast.
Yeah. Well, and it's honestly, I'm a little bit biased because I'm the host, but I don't even introduce myself at the beginning of the episodes because that podcast, it's not about me. It's about the people who actually show up for that conversation that day.
Mhm.
And magic happens. So we say that, experts are welcome, but they're not necessarily needed. And it's because we want to hear from people from different walks of life. And they're very difficult topics. Like we've done an episode on privilege. We've done an episode on Asian hate. We've done an episode on so many different, really difficult topics. And most of them who show up have never met each other and have never met me before. And we talk about these super difficult topics for about an hour to an hour and a half, just to make sure that we talk about the stories and we share different perspectives. And most of the time we all leave there learning something from each other.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it's not even really about the audience either. It's about the people who are in that room, and it's a virtual room, but in that room to have that conversation.
Well, I think the fact that people are connected through those challenges, right? And so they have the opportunity to speak with others who, are feeling the same way and how they're handling different situations. And it's funny to me how quickly strangers can become friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that a lot through podcasting. Like you meet new people and you bring them together, and all of a sudden there's a bond that you didn't know that you could have with a complete stranger after an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's so true. And actually, it's interesting to see what happens after I stop the recording button.
Yep.
So I did an episode about ageism, and I had a woman of color in her 40s. And I mean, I had like 4 different people, but
Yeah.
these 2 stood out to me because I also had a Caucasian male in his 60s. And I always say at the beginning of the episode, it's okay to disagree. Let's just do it respectfully.
Yep.
And so these 2 were going, back and forth about different things throughout the conversation respectfully. And at the end, when I hit the stop recording button, she turned to him and said, "Thank you so much for showing up today."
Oh,
Like, I really just needed this dialogue
yeah.
to just understand a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
And it's those moments, it's like moments like that really make a difference.
Yeah. That's so cool. And then when you hear back from the audience too,
Mhm.
it's so it makes it worthwhile, right? Again, you hear not only from the 2 who were strangers walking into that recording who now had spent time that was meaningful, but when
Mhm.
you hear from your listeners, it just amplifies, I think, the need for people to have these raw conversations even with difficult topics.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And people want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't feel like the space that they're in is safe enough to do so.
Yep.
And so for me, it's really rewarding in the fact that I am so lucky to be able to host conversations like this,
Mhm.
and that people trust me to create that safe space
Mhm.
and make sure that it's someplace that they feel good enough to share.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you've created a platform where people are heard, they're seen, their voice is appreciated and
Yeah.
heard, and that is so powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my I think it's one of my superpowers, but I talk about that in the book.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna talk about your book. And just real quick though, the work that you're doing under Blended Pledge, like,
Yes.
I think this is fantastic. Would you share that mission really
Yeah, yeah,
quickly?
yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share about that.
Yeah.
So, travel expenses are the number one barrier for us to see more inclusion on industry stages. And that's not just in supply chain, it's kind of across most industries. I wouldn't say all, but most. And so we give away grants to cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements. Because at the end of the day, when you're sending your teams to a conference, you don't want them hearing the same thing from the same people over and over and over again. You want them to go there and have creative thoughts and come back with innovative solutions and creativity. And the only way we can really do that is through conversations that have inclusive perspectives, right? Different perspectives. What does that look like? They don't always have to agree, but at least we can share those perspectives so that we go beyond what we're thinking about today and how we're thinking about things today.
I think that's so important to be able to bring those diverse perspectives forward. To your point, a lot of conference speakers,
Mhm.
I still think there's a lack of females in diverse groups that are brought forward. And to your point, a lot of times if they're not offering an honorarium, but you still want the opportunity to take that stage, that travel is really that hindrance to people being able to have their voices heard. So I think it's amazing, amazing work that you're providing through that Blended Pledge mission.
Thank you. Thank you. And a lot of times, if you think about it, having the opportunity to speak on stage about yourself or your business or whatever that looks like, that creates opportunity.
Yep.
We have to allow for the space to be able to provide opportunity to a variety of different people. And if we think about entrepreneurs, I mean, sometimes it's a decision between paying for travel to go somewhere where you know is going to like really be a good return on your business, or putting food on the table.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And knowing that there's a place that can help ease that is
Yes.
so nice. And to an entrepreneur, that could be the one place where they take off and their business really can see that positive impact. Is just that one up. It only takes one
Mhm.
for
Yep.
that to
It
happen.
only takes one. And you never know when you're in a room what can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love it. I was excited to learn more about it and read about it on your website. The other thing I was really excited to read was your book. So thank you for sending it. I actually printed the e version out just because I am definitely a paper gal when it comes to books,
Okay.
and I have highlights all through it. As
Oh,
Yeah, I do. For the audience, the title is "I Buried Her in a French Press." So, title gets you right away.
it's the only thing. Like if you go to search it on Amazon, it's the only thing that comes up when you put in that title. I mean, go figure.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about the book as a whole? And then, I'll share some of my perspective and some of the things that I highlighted. But would you mind sharing just kind of how the book itself, kind of how you came up with it,
Yeah.
all of the good details?
I would love to. So, in the fall of 2024, actually, I would say probably throughout 2024, um, I really wanted to. I wanted to see where I could like what I could do with my personal brand.
Mhm.
I'd been in supply chain for so long, but I didn't necessarily want to be a supply chain expert. Like that wasn't exactly where I thought I would be, and so I went to Lewis House had this conference, and so I went there and I did this personal branding session. And the guy said, "Your personal brand has to be about one word." And I was like, "One word? Like, how in the actual is anybody going
Yep.
to figure this out?" And of course, he puts up Brene Brown and he puts up like Lewis House and like
Yep.
all these people who have come up with their one word. And I thought about it for a week. Because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna get serious about my personal brand,
Yeah.
I need to figure out what this one word is. And so I kept going through like, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I actually do? And I kept coming back to creating safe space for conversation. I kept coming back to after I stopped the record button on a lot of my episodes, they were like, wow, like you made me feel seen and heard today. I felt comfortable talking to you, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I got on the flight home and it was red eye. And it came to me and it was like self-worth. And I was like, okay, all right. And so I sort of had to go through that in my head as to how that really is interpreted with what I do and how we could interpret it. And I I went back to my team the next day or something like that. And I was like, I've got it. It's self-worth. And they were like, absolutely not. And I was like, but why? Why not? And so I started to explain like why that.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to write a book for a very, very long time. But I just didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know what I wanted to write about. I knew that I had been through a lot. I wasn't sure if it was going to be interesting to anybody.
Mhm.
But I could tie all of the things that I had been through back to self-worth. And so I was like, I think this is it. And so I worked on the book for about a year. I did have a writer that I was working with. Otherwise, it probably would have taken me 10. And we went through all of the different stories. And so this book is a compilation of the things that I've been through throughout my life, but then how I was able to pick myself up from a self-worth perspective or find my voice again. So find it one time and then lose it and then find it again. And that really is the journey.
Yeah.
right? We all think it's this big destination. Once
Yeah.
I get here, I'm going to be fully confident. And then what happens when a week later you don't feel so confident?
Right. Yep.
Right? And
Yeah.
how do we navigate that? And so that's how it came about. And that's what I decided to write the book about. And the title itself, everybody thinks it's this big analogy. And I guess it probably could have been. But there's a fun chapter in there as to why I called it what I called it. And maybe you'll have to read it, or maybe Emily will give you a sneak peek. But
Well, so I think a couple of things there. One is truly, I think one of the lessons that you walk away from this book with is if you have to find your voice 5 times, just keep finding it. Like, you went through
yes.
a lot, in your
Mhm.
childhood and early adult, right up, I would say, even through that birthday where you magically found yourself without a job, and what do you do next? And after that, I love the stories as well about your side hustles.
Yes.
And part of the reason I say that is because I think everybody needs a side hustle.
Mhm.
I think there's so much to learn from them.
Yeah, well, I'm a really big believer in you've gotta try lots of different things to
Yep,
see what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, and what you're not good at.
yep,
And so that side hustle journey for me was one of the ways to be able to do that. And I learned so much. It took me a long time to see my value,
yep,
but I had to go through some pretty hard things. Like I went to court
yep.
with somebody who I thought valued me and who absolutely did not, because I, didn't read all the signs and all the red flags that were like, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing this anymore." But it
Yeah,
also gives you an opportunity to become aware and really listen to that voice inside of you that most of us kind of ignore.
yeah, yeah. It's easy to ignore that voice. Like,
So
it's
easy. Mhm.
right?
Yep.
You don't want to either you don't believe it's actually happening or you can't believe that this is happening. There's so many reasons why that voice, you're like, "Ah."
I know, I know. I hear you. I hear you. And like you said, it's so much easier said than done. But I don't think I would have done it any other way. I mean, there's a story in the book about how I overcame my fear of public speaking.
Yeah,
And it wasn't going to Toastmasters because I just could not bring myself to do it. Um and I still struggle with it to this day. So it's not like it was this magic bullet and then all of a sudden I was good. But it did give me an out of the box way of thinking about how to get over something,
yep.
you know?
I enjoyed that chapter, well, because Toastmasters is a standard way that people would go about public speaking and learning, how to become a better public speaker, or, there's many positives, and that's a great program. But the
Yeah.
fact is, going outside of the box, you got exposure to many different
Mhm.
ways that you would have to be in the public spotlight in speaking,
Yeah.
and to many different, like, just the different people, like,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
different personalities.
Yep. Yep. It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Well, it was great. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna share a couple of the things that I highlighted, and maybe we can
Sure.
chat there. So I'm gonna start with absolutely the end of the book first, because
Okay.
I love what you said. Take up space, speak your truth, find your superpower, and own your worth like it's your birthright, because it is and always has been.
Mm,
And I love that. How
yeah.
hard it is for people to value their own voice and then use it to speak up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really difficult. But also it's easier on some days than it is on other days.
100%.
And I feel like we don't give ourselves enough grace for those days where, maybe we are at 40%, but our voice still matters.
Yeah.
As long as we're doing it respectfully and we're not, yelling at everybody. I mean, there's days that, I want to yell at everybody too. And so I think the most difficult part is finding our voice in respect to how do we want to show up in the world.
Yeah.
And it takes us a while to sort of figure out who we are and what we do and what we're good at. And that's an ever evolving journey, right? That's never a destination. You're going to be different in 10 years than I'm going to be different in 10 years than I am today. And I think it's also giving ourselves the grace to be able to pick that voice back up again after we haven't felt like we had a voice, or maybe we could have a voice, or whatever that looks like. I think the other part of that sentence that you just pointed out is the superpower part. I talk about in the book purpose, and I don't know how this resonated with you, but I talk about how people get so caught up in purpose that they feel like if they don't have a purpose, that they're failing in life. And I just don't think that's fair to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? It takes a while to figure out what that purpose is, and it keeps changing. So the goalpost keeps changing. So, are you ever fully in your purpose? Sure. But it's going to evolve and it's going to change. And so when you talk about superpower in that sentence, I feel like the superpower is a lot better a word than purpose. And I think that can evolve and change too. But I think finding your superpower is a way to be able to find that is through reflecting on what you've been through and how you navigated through each one of those situations. And that gives you so much insight into like who you are and what your superpower is and what you bring to the world. And,
Yeah. No, I love that. I think the other part with that too is people taking the time to realize that, you may shift, right? Like where you were 10 years ago is not where you are today. And in 5 years, it's not going to look the same. And understanding that that's actually probably a good thing, because there's growth that happens somewhere in that messy middle between the times that you changed your purpose and your goals for your life.
Yeah. And it's okay for it to be messy. I mean, you read the book.
I did.
You know how messy it has been for me. And that I think is where the magic happens in conversation, to be able to share that messy middle of like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What am I proud of? What am I not proud of?
Yeah.
Right? Because what you're not proud of, you can learn from and maybe do it differently next time.
Yep. Absolutely.
We all get second chances in our own lives just through the choices that we make.
Yep. I love it. And I think you mentioned that in the book. It was something like, there's no real mistake or something to that value, like things that may have gone wrong. Okay, get up and dust yourself off and try again, like learn from that, but you've got to pick yourself up and move on.
Well, and who decides like what's wrong and what's a mistake and what's failure?
Yeah.
I think those are, we have to be careful of the words that we use too, because sometimes we get so hung up on these like words that have this negative connotation, and no wonder we sort of spiral.
Yeah.
If we're using words like that to sort of beat ourselves up over something that we think or society thinks is the wrong way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's oftentimes that we feel that we've done something incorrect. Nobody else knows about it. It's only your own internalization.
Can I tell you, like nobody's paying attention.
No. That
closely. I mean, everybody thinks they are.
Yep.
And maybe some people are, but nobody's really paying that much close attention.
Yep. Agree. And I think instead of purpose, you also said find your core values.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. Like, what is it that you stand for? Like, what is it that you're like passionate about? And what is it that you want to stand for? What is the impact that you want to make? I mean, even there's sustainable development goals, right? That I think there's like 17, or I don't even know what the number is. I think it's 17, right? But if you think about sustainability has all these development goals of how you can make a difference and make an impact in the world, right? What are the 3 core values? And maybe it's not 3, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 1.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. But what are your core values? What are you going to live by every day?
Yep. I love that. And I love that. I thought it was great. I was like, I love that part. One other thing that I highlighted here is we self-sabotage also when we feel imposter syndrome and when we feel we aren't good enough. And
Yes.
boy, I can relate to that statement.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. People get a sense of how we feel about ourselves
Yep.
and how we show up in conversations. We actually tell people without even realizing it and without intention how we feel about ourselves by the words that we use,
Yes.
how we show up that day for that conversation.
Mhm.
And we don't realize it. And most people don't realize that we give so much away.
Yep.
It's so interesting.
It is so interesting. Anyways, I love that because imposter syndrome is so real. Like I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but I mean, I'm out there and I look at these other great podcasters that are, maybe getting higher ratings than we are. I mean, we're doing well, but it's like, oh, what about that next level? And I find myself going, why am I doing, I am I good
Mhm.
enough? What about that person? So I don't know if you ever experience things like that in the
Oh,
work
all the
that
time.
you do, but
Mhm.
I just how do you go through those moments? Actually, how do you get through those imposter syndrome moments?
Yeah, so that happens to me all the time. Like, I go through imposter syndrome all the time. And I think it's a natural sort of
Yeah.
human thing to go through.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the conversations around imposter syndrome are like, how do we beat it? Right? Instead of how do we sit with it?
Right, exactly.
Because it really just is a natural thing of this journey that we're all
Yeah.
on. And I don't think that I have any like true and tried way of like getting through it.
Yeah.
I kind of say yes anyways. That's been my motto, whether I feel like I'm ready, whether I feel like I'm good enough, whatever that looks like, I kind of say yes most of the time anyways, and
Yeah.
then I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I've also learned to trust myself in the fact that regardless of what it is, it might not look how everybody thinks it needs to look, but I'll figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
Right. And I've learned that about myself.
Yeah.
And so these are kind of the tools and part of the reflection point that I made earlier around superpowers.
Yeah.
But if you can pay attention to those kind of things, then you start to trust yourself a little bit more and know that I might not be feeling this today, but I'm going to say yes to it anyways,
Mhm.
and I'll figure it out.
Yep. Love
Um, yeah. And so I don't know if that answered your question because it's really, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to rear its ugly head all over the place.
Mhm.
And I think you really just need to try and sit with it,
Yeah.
right? If it gives you too much anxiety, I mean, maybe go and do something to get some of that energy out
Yeah.
and then sit with it again.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes just realize that you are that good, like, don't
Mm,
have imposter syndrome because you deserve that seat at the table and you're just as good.
yeah.
You know?
It's hard to say that though. It's
It
hard to say don't
is.
have it.
Oh, 100%.
You
Yeah.
know, I almost feel like saying you're gonna have it.
Mhm.
And so just figure out what your way of dealing with it is.
Yep. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with putting on a little music and dancing and working your way through it.
I was talking to somebody the other day and she was talking about this thing that she goes to, and she's taken a lot of women to it where they dance around and they scream and they do all sorts of stuff, and apparently it's very cathartic. So
Really?
maybe if you can't really move through something or you have to get rid of imposter syndrome, that might be the place.
All right. Hey, it's worth a try. It
Mhm.
If nothing else, you get to yell a little bit and dance.
Right? I mean, who doesn't want to do that?
That's right. And then just the last thing that I do want to touch upon because I thought your comments in the book were really impactful, our self-worth
Mhm.
and knowing your value. And I think there's lots of times, I know I still do it. Sure, I can do that for free. I'm happy to help. And it's realizing how much you're truly worth and valued
Mhm.
and how hard that can be sometimes. So I highlighted a lot about that. That struck a chord with me. And so I I think that information, I don't know if you want to add content there, but it's just, that was impactful, and just remembering your own self-worth.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to ebb and flow.
Yep.
And we've kind of got to be okay with it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of great ways, like, to say no respectfully. If you just can't do something right now. I mean, I think the inherent nature of most people is that you want to help and you want to say yes and you want to be able to help all sorts of people. But you only have so much time, energy, money, and resources in a day. Right? And so you can only do so much sometimes. And sometimes you do have to say no.
Yep. Yep. No, I appreciate that. And I think the more we say yes, the more exhausted we are. And there's just there's many tentacles to that.
But I will say this. Take a look or try to figure out why it is that you're saying yes or why you're saying no. One of the things that I'd hate to see is that you don't say yes out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I think I talked about this in the book around keynote speaking.
Yes, you did. Yes.
So I was asked a lot to do these keynote speeches. And I mentioned earlier that I have this fear of public speaking. And so I would say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, wait a second. Why am I saying no to this? Is it out of the fear? Or is it because it's really just something I don't want to do? And so it took me a while to like work through that and sort of figure that out. But I realized that a traditional keynote speech is not the way I would do a keynote speech.
Yeah.
And so once I took a look at it and said, well, wait a second, if we crumpled up that piece of paper as to what it should look like, and we redesigned it in a way that actually resonated and aligned with me and who I am and creating safe space for conversation,
Mm-hmm.
then I would say yes to keynote speeches. So I realized that maybe at the beginning I was saying no out of fear, but then I went back and revisited it and tried to figure it out for me as to how I could make it work so it did align.
Yep.
If that was what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I appreciated you walking through how you got there in the book, like, you know, how you came to that conclusion. And I was thinking about that specific scenario on my drive over to the community arts center, was that it took a lot to get there. Like, it wasn't out of fear, but it was realizing how you connect with your audience and how you connect with people that led you to get there. I think there's a lot of spotlight on keynotes and things like that, but who says one specific way is the only way to deliver them?
Right. Right. Yeah. So as you can see, I sort of kick the status quo.
Yeah. I love that. as well as we should every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with kicking the status quo. Well, thank you. I will share more with you in an email about just specifics on the book. I can just tell everybody who's listening now, it's a great story of resilience, and you shared your story beautifully about how you went from your teenage years and some things that happened there all the way through finding a French press and what had to happen in those moments. And I will share, so you during the time where you're explaining kind of the French press day, if you will, you mentioned sun versus rain.
Mm-hmm.
And how it had been rainy, but the sun came out for the service. And I have to say, the day my father died, it was raining terribly until the moment he took his last breath. And the moment he took his last breath, actually the sun began to shine and things became bright. And I often say that was his way of letting us know that he was okay.
Yeah.
But I think there was just that whole chapter, there was a lot that resonated with me personally. So thank you for putting that to paper, and thank you for sharing moments like that, because it did resonate with me personally. And so I loved it.
Yeah, I love that. And It's like the title is an ode to my step grandmother.
Yeah.
We can share that. And it was her sort of burial day. And I had been doing all of the coordination from Canada. And it was during the pandemic and I had to quarantine. There was all sorts of circumstances that led me to this particular moment. And
Yeah.
so it was a fun story to share, although I will say it was a difficult story to
Sure.
share because I sort of had to relive that day.
Yep.
Um, and I think this book is full of sort of like moments where you'll laugh, moments where you'll cry, maybe moments of resolution and resonating with some of the things. And honestly, I wrote it and I was like, if I can help one person,
Yep.
and we have over 50, I think 50 reviews on
Amazing.
Amazon. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Those are hard to get. I know personally from that.
Yeah. Well, and I think we got bestseller in 2 different categories on Amazon too.
Yay.
So I'm very grateful and humble for this experience because I'll tell you, writing the book was pretty therapeutic. And
Was it?
I've been in therapy like pretty much since my early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. There is something cathartic, I think, about being able to sit down and just
Mhm.
tell it.
Yeah.
Just share.
Mhm.
So, oh, I love. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. A quick question for you as we start to wrap up. What's one thing that you want to make sure that our audience knows about the work that you're doing and about yourself?
Really, I want everybody to know about the Blended Pledge. I think it's,
Yeah.
just something, and the Blended podcast.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is not because of me, it's because of the people that show up. It takes a lot of courage and bravery for people to show up to an environment where they've never met the host, they've never met each other, and they're talking about some pretty personal things
Yep.
where they have to be vulnerable and authentic in how they share their perspectives and their stories on that particular topic. So if you do anything and you want to learn more about other people, I think I'd just really like to give a shout out to theblendedpledge.org, the Blended Podcast, just because I think these stories really need to be heard.
Yeah, I do too. I did listen to a couple of episodes and I just absolutely, got a new subscriber in me because well, people need the space to be able to have those conversations, to know that they're safe, to know, again, I think people want to be valued and seen and heard. And you definitely provide a platform for people to come and share that. Plus, you're bringing opportunity to so many people by being able to go out into conferences and share their stories and help them get a next step in their careers, their business, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And then highly encourage everybody to go to Amazon. The audiobook just came out
Hey.
of I Buried Her in a French Press. So we've got all sorts of different versions for however you want to listen or read a book.
Awesome. We're going to put links in the show notes. So we'll make sure there's links to everything, to your website, to Amazon. But again, I just absolutely, I love the book. I love the Blended Pledge. I love that mission. And Sarah, thank you for being on the show tonight. I could probably sit here and talk to you for hours.
Well, who knows when you press end show, what's going to happen, but we'll see.
Exactly. It's just, when I get such engaging guests like yourself, and I feel like the work that you're doing is impactful for others. And, I know you've got your supply chain work that you're doing, but you're bringing so much in through Blended Pledge and through the book and sharing your story. So thank you for what you're putting out into our world.
Thank you for having me on the show and for allowing me the space to be able to talk about this today. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Producer Ken, thanks for being here tonight.
You got it.
Thanks, Ken.
And as I mentioned, we're very lucky, Sarah. We're a small community, but we have amazing support. So our local community art center, Go Art, allows us to come in and use their space. So we get to go to fun areas across the building to record our podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes, that's cool. So shout out to them. Well, thank you for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Truly, I appreciate you taking the time this evening to just share everything that you're doing. It's meant a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me on the show. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great night, Sarah. We appreciate it.